car is a very clean example of a Cordoba, as you can see. It's very, very nice. It's this kind of a brown metallic color. The interior is immaculate. And you're probably thinking, Dylan, how in the world can you actually take this car apart and use it to put in your charger? Now, I want to tell you this because I tried to sell this car, but nobody would buy it. And everybody said that I was overpriced. I thought that, I mean, the sum of all of its parts, you couldn't build this car for what I had priced it for. I thought I was pretty reasonable. Now, if you think about it and you take all of these good parts, put them in that car, you're going to increase the value. Everybody thinks in this car, the value is going to stay the same. So this one's going to go on the chopping block, take all the good stuff, put it in the charger. Now, on the plus side of all this, I have another 78 Chrysler Cordoba that you guys have seen on the channel way a long time ago. I'm going to take these two cars, make one good one. So take all the running gear out of the black one, put it in this one because that car has a very solid running gear. And this one does too. On top of all the good stuff for the engine, they had put I think they said it was a B&M 2800 stall and then a deep pan. So it's got, you know, some goodies on it, and I don't know if it had a shift kit or not, but everything runs great. The car holds like 40 or 50 PSI of oil pressure in gear at idle while it's hot, so it's a very solid engine. It does need some gaskets here and there, some seals, but overall we have a very good combination of a car to make our charger that much better. Out back it does have a set of 373s that I'm going to leave in the car because they howl. They don't make they work great. It's a limited slip, but they make a lot of noise. And on top of that, they went full drag car on this bad boy and put a shutoff switch on the rear bumper. So I mean, this car was a pretty legit little street car, and they even put the battery and relocated it to the trunk. So a lot of good stuff here to make a good running combination. And you know, the guy who built it did a really good job on this car, and it just needed some extra work to get it kind of like the next step. But you know, I tried to sell it. I tried to get rid of it as is because I didn't want to tear it apart, but I would much rather have a solid running gear in a Charger compared to a Cordoba. So if it hurts your feelings, hate it. Just look at all this stuff that I've spent so much time meticulously cleaning and making look nice and pretty. I mean, I spent months on this engine alone just to make it look nice. Everything's turned to rust and all this extra garbage, so I've realized that sometimes it just doesn't matter, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it runs good. Because that's where I was kind of at with this car. I wanted it to look good, I wanted it to run good. I tried way too much, I tried way too hard, and sometimes you just got to go back to basics. Simplicity is not a bad thing. Making it usable is a good thing. One of the biggest issues with this car is how bad the brakes worked. Now, there was a couple times where on Power Tour, I was hearing a grinding noise. I actually had the pedal maxed out as far as I could push it to stop one time. That's scary when your car doesn't want to stop. The rear brake drums, I think one of the springs broke and the self-adjuster fell out, and then the pin that holds the shoe in actually broke off too. So all that fell out. When I pulled the drum off, the shoe just fell off. So it was actually like locking up and binding. It caused the rear brake drum to overheat and actually discolor itself. It's wild. And on top of that, this master cylinder has started to rust because I have had to press the brake pedal so hard to make this car stop that it's pushed fluid out of the top of the lid and onto the master cylinder. This car, like I said, I don't know. I think it doesn't have enough vacuum in order for these power brakes to work. And these are like a cheapo bolt-on conversion kit that isn't necessarily made for this car. I think this is like a GM brake booster and adapter to make it all fit. And I mean, it works if it works, but the best part about it was the disc brake conversion for the front. That really was nice, but all this here, I just don't think it's that great. So we're gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna go straight up manual brakes, rear disc, just like the Challenger, because that car, it's amazing. Like, it does not falter as far as like brakes go. It stops hard every time without like any kind of failure or anything. So I've actually put more miles on the Challenger now than I have this car, believe it or not, which is crazy to me to think about, but that's the case of the matter. And this poor carburetor here, man, it's seen some abuse. You can see how bad it was running rich. I can't remember what was happening, but it would just flood itself. You would floor it and it would immediately flood itself. I think, because I talked with Thunderhead 289 about it, and he kind of helped me figure out what was going on. And I think what we figured out was that the rear power valve was engaging, because it's got 2 power valves. So I think we ended up putting a block off for the power valve in the rear and jetting up the secondaries, if I remember correctly. So this carburetor is a bit of a Frankenstein. It's a 750 with vacuum secondaries. And when the power valve, oh, I remember what happened. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. When the vacuum signal drops below a certain reading, meaning like this 9.5, when it drops below 9.5 inches of mercury, then it'll like say, oh, we're gonna give more fuel. And it had one in the front, one in the rear. It had a 9.5 in the front for the primaries and a 6.5 in the rear. So at 9.5 inches of mercury, the primaries would engage. At 6.5 inches of mercury, the secondaries would engage. Except they had them from the factory reversed. So what was happening was this car was engaging the secondaries before the primaries would kick in. So all this fuel was dumping in, so you'd mash the throttle and it's already running stupid rich. As soon as you floor it, it would go bleh, and then just fall on its face, and it would actually flood itself so bad the car would shut off. Like, I've never had a car flood itself so bad to the point of shutting itself off. So this carburetor is definitely seen some issues in it today. I think everything's good on it now, so we're going to take it off, maybe clean up some of this black soot that's built up on it from all that hard driving that we did to it, and put it back on.